Look, I have come to realize that if the Democrats are accusing Donald Trump or his circle of something, it's probably because they're doing it themselves. Racism, fraud, insurrection, whatever. There is more evidence of them doing all these things than they have ever been able to find on Donald Trump. Yet we don't play by the same rules they do, so they get away with it. The blatant arrogance of the Biden syndicate is just amazing to me. I mean, it took me a day to process this because it's that crazy. Hunter Biden, via his lawyers, was like, oh, yeah, you know, Congress will testify, but only on the terms that we want. Are you kidding me? Don Jr. got hauled in front of Congress like 6 times if you include the sham January 6th committee garbage. He showed up when and where he was subpoenaed. I mean, thankfully, James Comer is pushing back, but Republicans really aren't on top of anything else. This January 6th thing is the clearest example. I mean, thank God for Mike Johnson releasing those tapes. McCarthy couldn't have been bothered to do it, but as more and more gets crowdsourced, we're seeing why. Look, and it's baffling to me, like, why only 4 congressmen are being very vocal about this. The fact that over 1,000 people were charged with things that none of these videotapes support thus far. And once again, the one guy, the only really one guy who's fighting the deep state, who is responsible for all of this, like Donald Trump. As you know, he's being charged for a bunch of stuff related to January 6th, like obstructing official proceedings or whatever else they could cook up with, which I find really rich since Jamal Bowman literally pulled a fire alarm to stop a vote on the House floor. Look, that's exactly what they're charging Trump for. It's on video, and he's not even being investigated. I mean, again, my litmus test is, are we treating Democrats the same way they treat Donald Trump? That's got to be my litmus test on everything. And we're not. But why the hell not? So in this case, as any case, if you're going to charge Trump with a crime, he's now entitled to know who was there, why, and what they were doing on that day. We call this little part of discovery phase. It's great. If you charge him with a crime, you have to turn over any evidence you have that you intend to use to convict him and any evidence that may exonerate him, as well as any documents, communications, or otherwise that may be related to the same case. And this is why they call him the GOAT, because he requested from the FBI, quote, any informants, cooperators, undercover agents, representatives, or anyone acting in a similar capacity on behalf of or at the behest of the Department of Justice or any law enforcement agency, including state or District of Columbia, who was present at or within 5 miles of the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. Ruh-roh. Looks like the FBI and Jack Smith are going to have to fight like the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark to keep this information from getting out. But they are going to use all kinds of BS for this. Oh, that's going to threaten national security. It's going to jeopardize law enforcement. It won't. None of that will happen. But mark it in your calendar, folks. They're going to do it. They're going to say all that stuff. But guess what? If the FBI refuses to answer this, if they ignore it or if they fight it, that just answers the question. Like, in my mind, definitely that there were undercover agents and informants or whatever you want to call them on that day at the January 6th protest. What involvement did they have? Well, we've seen from the videos released thus far that there were, in fact, someone in that crowd right there. One guy goes on camera and admits it with a badge hanging out of his shirt. Roll it.
Well, we go undercover as Antifa in a crowd, so can you put that back in? All right, thank you so much. Yep. It feels better. Did you guys get sprayed?
Folks, this is happening. The Republican frontrunner is by like 50 points, leading the current president, Joe Biden, by like between 5 and 12 points, depending on what poll you choose, is being prosecuted for something that is completely unsubstantiated. And where is the RNC? All-time low in their bank account? They're not fundraising on this. Nope, of course not. They're taking the high road. Ronna McDaniel is too busy planning the next debate for a bunch of people fighting for like a super distant second place. They should be cashing checks and snapping necks. I mean, figuratively, of course. But if I had Ronna's job, I would be hitting every donor up to smash the deep state, to stop this stuff in its tracks, funding lawsuits in every single state that Trump is being prosecuted in. But she's not doing that. I would have investigators on the ground filing lawsuits against every crooked Democratic legislator I could find. They did this against all the electors, the fake elector slots that they said were for Trump. But nope, She's also not doing that. She's getting her hair done for $100,000 a year, though. Instead, she's worried about which liberal mop is going to moderate the next debate for someone who has the same chance at being the Republican nominee as Mickey Mouse. Trump doesn't even show up to these anymore because it's not worth his time. And that is why these debates are the lowest rated things we've ever seen in, the last 20 years. This primary is over, and even the public knows that. And the only clip, actually, that got widely circulated from the last debate was Vivek Ramaswamy, who, by the way, his national political director just left his campaign to join Trump. But Vivek basically called Ronna McDaniel incompetent on stage. It was the only part that got shared. This is why I stopped donating to the RNC. And where is Congress on this? Why are they not investigating any of this stuff? What do the Democrats call it? They call it every time Trump opens his mouth and breathes. It's a threat to democracy. That's what it is. If Trump gets out of bed and puts his sneakers on, threat to democracy. Why are we not hauling in anyone who has ever challenged Trump's right to be on the ballot? Why are they not being investigated by attorney generals for being a threat to democracy? Look, I am so far beyond caring if we actually win any of these lawsuits either. I just think it's time for Republicans to do what Democrats have been doing to anyone who opposes their agenda. Bankrupt them, anybody who disagrees with you. Bring them into court, file charges until they go bankrupt, or you catch them in a process crime, whichever comes first. And again, it seems like Trump is the only Republican who gets this. He put this out on Truth. He said, quote, "I'm 12 points up on crooked Joe Biden, but he's got the Justice Department and others suing me wherever and whenever possible. Weaponization, it's called, and maybe that can make a difference." He went on. "If they filed these cases years ago, which they could have, this would not be a problem. But they want it to be a problem because they are so bad. Voters have and will reject it. To all Democrats, be careful what you wish for." Yes, they should be careful because you know what? Anything they're doing, he can do. He gets that. But all the rhinos complain, oh, why didn't Trump crush the deep state in the first 4 years? Well, because honestly, I don't think he knew how deep it was. Members of his own party stabbed him in the back. But those same rhinos also let that deep state expand while they were there. I mean, most of them are actually part of it. So I really don't want to hear it from them. Instead of them actually doing something about it, these same people are debating expelling George Santos from Congress, who, by the way, is a total zero, but he's still a Republican, solid Republican vote on nearly every issue, and he's not running again. So who cares? Why waste your time with it? I'd rather you expel Da Nang Dick Blumenthal for lying about being in Vietnam. Didn't do that. Meanwhile, the same people who are taking the high road and so critical of Donald Trump have been deadly silent on the more than $18 million congressional slush fund they used to pay out sexual assault claims against staffers. Give me a break. We should be destroying Democrats right now. They have screwed this country up so much that even the Rhode Island chapter of Black Lives Matter just endorsed Trump. Who saw that coming? I mean, how much more evidence do you people need that the Democrats are a bunch of commie, corrupt authoritarians and gotta go? And the media can't wrap their heads around this either, like Morning Joe and places like that. And this is why they're going to eat crow more in 24 than they did even in 2016, because they can't fathom that John Q. Public would dare have actual concerns about a crackhead and why he was getting paid millions of dollars in Ukraine for a natural gas company that he knew nothing about, all because Daddy was overseeing the White House involvement in the country. About why he collected billions of investments from Chinese people for his private equity fund. And why everybody in the Biden family is collecting fat checks from shell companies that can't even point to a single product ever produced. Why is Hunter emailing his business partner about 10% for the big guy? Why is Joe Biden's brother is writing him loan repayment checks for $240,000 that we know about? Why Joe Biden says he's never spoken to his son about his business dealings, yet text messages show clearly otherwise. And why White House logs show that Joe Biden met with Hunter's associates on many occasions. And why the hell Joe Biden is a multimillionaire after spending his entire career in government making less than $200,000 a year for the last half century. Why don't we have that conversation? No, we don't have that conversation because most of these that represent us are crooks, criminals, and liars, and they're only trying to retain their seats. And the one guy that is in fact not enriching himself off the system and his position is the guy under investigation for a crime with no victim, no one harmed, and seemingly only guilty of employing thousands of people and paying back their loans.